Oscar struck me as an inquisitive person, but somewhat reserved. And I always wondered, here's a young man who knows he wants to major in chemical and systems biology, which is a very unusual thing to come out in a recruiting trip. In fact, I'll put that out there with any other college coach anywhere. But he also spoke 6 languages. You know, I think he was a little reserved. And I'm not going to say uncertain, but he didn't know what to expect. I could tell by nature he would be easygoing. But now I've seen him blossom to be comfortable in multiple settings.
You are so famous.
I came on my visit here in October of 2016. I met with Dr. Longaker in the lab, in the conference room. And I was very, very intrigued by that because that's exactly what I was looking for, like a university where I could play good basketball, have a good coaching staff, and a good program, but at the same time, you know, have a good academic background too. And the coaches knew that. I mean, that's probably one of the main reasons for a lot of people to come to Stanford to play sports. And I met with Dr. Longaker, and like right away he said, I can advise you a little bit, be a little bit of a river guide for your time in college, and you can work in the lab if you're interested in doing research and stuff like that. So we got going on that like right away.
He doesn't know me at all, but he wanted to know if I could be his advisor in this program. So by the end of that meeting, we had connected, and he kept in touch with me. So I've seen him go from someone who was not necessarily the most outgoing person to being very outgoing and comfortable, not only on the court and calling out the defense from behind or whatever Coach Hass wants him to do, but I've also seen him become more comfortable in the lab. You can imagine how quiet he was initially, right? And now he's doing experiments. So I've seen him grow as a person and basketball player and as a scientist. And that's a lot in 2 years for a young man to do, but Oscar is an exceptional person.
I'm going to major in biochemistry. Gaining experience of how people actually do their work was really important to me. And being around doctors, excellent doctors like Deshka here, day in, day out over the summer, really helped me gain insight to how people do their work. And I ultimately want to do probably something biotech or pharmaceuticals. That's just like getting a little experience of hands-on work.
And he had no trouble being the junior-most person on the team because he had the least experience, technically and practically. But it's interesting to watch him grow because he's paired with a postdoc who's a general surgeon, taking 4 years out for a PhD in general surgery, named Deshka Foster. And they're working on 3 things. So the fibroblasts are cells in the skin that really are kind of boring and lay down collagen and would be responsible for scarring in wounds. But Oscar and Deshka in that project is talking about different types of fibroblasts. There are many different types we've now found out in the wound, some of which are more prone to giving the scar than others. So the ability of not necessarily a stem cell yet, but a progenitor cell within a wound is very exciting. So Oscar was working on that project. That is, during wound repair on a mouse, what types of fibroblasts are there?
Oscar's been terrific. He was here pretty much full-time all summer, and then he makes a point of stopping back whenever he has a chance, although his schedule is very busy. So we certainly appreciate him, and it's very exciting. He had an abstract accepted for publication this spring, so he'll be going to Baltimore and presenting.
So what we do with the tissues is we embed them in paraffin. So what it's going to end up looking like is this little block. So there's a little tissue sample down here. I don't know if you can see it. And then these little blocks, we take and section them. So we cut them into really thin slices. And that way you'll be able to look at the tissue under the microscope there. Just fill it up with paraffin. And then you just let it sit and harden.
So these are the samples?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so these are some samples that Oscar made over the summer. So this is some mouse scar tissue that we harvest, and then we examine what the scar tissue looks like. histologically.
So with this machine, we're gonna cut the aforementioned blocks into small or thin slices. So it just like glides up and down here, and there's a little blade right here where the paraffin and the tissue sample are gonna be cut. So the way you get these thin slices onto the slide that you're gonna look them out on is you take them and put them, like float them in the water. And you're just gonna grab the slide, slide it underneath.
Perfect.
And there we go. It's really cool. I think it's very, very special. I don't think a ton of people get to do that necessarily, especially this early on in their undergraduate career. So I'm just very thankful. Like I'm learning every day I go there, and since that's ultimately like what I want to do, maybe at some point down the road, it just helps me.
So I think I would say Stanford's different for lots of reasons, but I'll put that one out there too. That you have a starting Division I basketball player who's presenting a research topic on progenitor cells in a national meeting. And he's just been really dedicated to keeping involved in the lab. Now it's hard during season, right? And he's got a full course load. He's got Coach Hass, and he's got the 94 by 50 feet experience, 3 or 4 hours a day in Maples, yet he's still staying involved.
I don't know if there's something like a switch that I need to flip. It's definitely two very different fields. So I guess I have to transition mentally, but I don't really think about it too much. I guess more than anything, it's maybe that time at the lab and doing different stuff kind of gets my mind away from basketball for a little bit, because my mind is on basketball for the most of the time anyway. Like sometimes during class when I'm just in my room, like it's on basketball a lot. So I guess it just kind of gives me a little bit of an escape from that, I would say.
If you're looking why Stanford basketball is different, Oscar de Silva is a perfect example of it. Just thinking of what he's doing.
Well, it's been challenging for sure, coming from a place that's like 6,000 miles away, living away from home for the first time. It's been challenging at times, but it's also a really fun journey. It has been a really fun journey so far. Yeah, very, very happy that I'm able to contribute the way that I am. And yeah, I think that's a very, very unique experience.